according to my dad, the wheels for the locomotive were made in Hartford, and everything that had to be turned for the train was made in Hartford, but I don't know where in Hartford. All the rivets for the train were made of wood, and the architect for the locomotive even specified the spacing for the rivets. So it was very, very detailed. According to my dad, the mock-up was pretty close to the original. I'm drawing from some notes that I have from my father. If he were here, he would make this all more interesting. But he passed away in 1986, and he would have been 101 if he had lived. But I'm thankful I have the notes. The locomotive was moved from its construction site on Water Street to the little park created by the old post office. It was moved by Louis Turgeon and Sons of Newington, who were building movers. Stonemasons built a wall next to the locomotive, and the little park area was created in front, complete with grass and flowers, as you've seen in the film. According to my dad, to quote him, they spent a lot of money on it, and it was beautiful when they were finished. As I said, the locomotive was given to my dad. It stayed in a yard adjacent to our house on School Lane at the time, and kids came to play in it. After about 2 years, the train started to deteriorate because it wasn't covered all the time, and my father burned it. I don't know if the Chester Fire Department was on hand, burned it. And I think back about kids playing on the train. I guess we weren't concerned with liability back then for injuries and all, but nobody was injured, and kids had a great time playing on that train. But it was burned. In some of my dad's notes, he said he in hindsight, he should have sold it. Somebody could have, restored it. But the last thing I have about the mock-up locomotive, the bell from the real locomotive was taken off and put on the mock-up for filming, but they put it back on the real locomotive, and apparently the bell was very, very heavy. But I myself only had a little part. I was an extra. I was a Girl Scout in the film, and I looked up minimum wage in 1958 was $1 an hour. I looked back on my Social Security history. I made $30, which was big money back then. But and I have just a few notes about the real locomotive, and then I don't want to take up the time, but and maybe some of you folks already know this, but when filming began, the railroad crew used in the film had to be union. So actual railroad men, real railroad men from the New Haven Railroad came up here to be in the film, and that included conductors, engineers, ticket collectors, etc. According to my dad, I'm quoting him, we had to shovel coal out of the coal car every night, and the next day Zanardi's Coal Company would come and fill it up again. One night a shovel made a hole in the water tank for the real train. The train couldn't run unless the water tank hole was fixed. The hole was about 8 inches wide, the width of a hand shovel. My father got a welder to look at the hole, and the welder said he couldn't fix it. So, according to my father, and I don't understand what this means, but he said he took 2 pieces of leather and 2 pieces of metal, put the leather in the middle, drilled holes and lagged them together, and sealed the hole. And as I say, I'm not sure if I'm describing the fix correctly, but he worked all night on it, and it worked. It was ready for filming the next day. He commented on the water tank, on the inside of the tank. He said it was quite a tank on the inside of the car, full of baffles, rust, and dirty. I just have a few more things about the real locomotive. Again, the real locomotive was old, dirty, and rusty, hadn't been used in years, and it had been kept in New Haven, I guess in some kind of mothball yard, or whatever they call them. When they took the locomotive up to Plainfield for filming scenes up there, the real locomotive was towed. It didn't run up there on its own power. Danny Zanardi hauled coal all the way up to Plainfield for the filming there. I don't know if there are any Zanardis here.
I'm here.
Oh, Peter! Oh my gosh! Let's see, just a few more things. A helicopter was used in the Plainfield filming that created a lot of dust and blue cinders around. According to my dad, and I didn't write this down, but all the stars in the film that were needed for those Plainfield scenes, they were safely tucked inside some building and didn't come out until needed, but all the extras out there got full of dirt and cinders from the helicopter. The steam engine, the actual steam engine, ran on its own power when they were filming. Quote my dad, "We used to get Calamari brothers down there with a compressor to start the darn thing." I'm sure my dad didn't say darn. I cleaned it up. we used to get Calamaris down there with a compressor to start the darn thing, to get the fire up. I don't know if there are any Calamaris here. But, and guards stayed with the engine and railroad cars all night to safeguard them. In addition to the locomotive, there was a freight car, passenger car, and a caboose. There could have been other cars, but that's all that I have notes for. But that's all I know. Oh my gosh! My brother's here. Do you remember the train? You remember the old train? And kids did come.
Yeah, I was one of them.
No, oh, Lynn,
Yes.
Lynn, you're very good. Kudos to you.
Yeah. As long as we don't change.
Well, I looked on the website for clips of the film, and I saw the Chester Host Company, and I saw your grandfather, Bill Stahl. I'm sure it was him.
Well, and he was sitting like here throughout the whole meeting. I was so impressed. That's why it's so great to watch the film.
I saw him, and I saw Bruce Rayner,
Yep.
who's passed away.
Yep.
He was, and maybe somebody can correct me, the drum corps, I thought that was the Chester Drum Corps. Maybe it was the Chester Drum Corps with some other additions, but Albert J. Burr was the drum major, and he's pictured there with the drum majorette.
I can't remember her name.
Francis something?
From Centerbrook was a fantastic seamstress, and she made all the uniforms. Yeah.
Leonis the Bell.
What's that?
Leonis the Bell.
But that was Chester's.
It was,
Chester.
and they covered up the Chester Drum Corps
Yes.
name with Cape Ann. You could see what they
No,
said.
I made new uniforms.
But, anyway,
Francis, like you said, oh, my brother's here. I heard the voice, and I'm like, oh, where did he come from? Another child that played on the tree.
oh, Alan?
Yeah.
Because Lynn's grandfather, Bill Stahl, was our neighbor on School Lane.
Yep.
And the house that Bill and Frida lived in used to be the old schoolhouse.
Right.
And that's how School Lane got its
Right.
name. But the house was added on to
Yes.
a lot.
That was the old district schoolhouse for that area.
Oh, so you played on the train.
Oh, yeah. Down there.
Bill, do you remember if the fire department was there when Dad burned it? I can't.
Jim Crow probably was, it was all right.
We have Bruce Edgerton in the audience too, and he knows a little bit about old 97. You might want to,
Oh,
if we could prevail upon him to share that, a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
plus, of course, I've always looking at all the scenes we were shooting on the railroad, and the Haven Railroad to figure out where the shots were. So there's a lot of places you wouldn't recognize anymore, like in Plainville, you know, going north on the canal line from Southington, you know, past where Pratt Whitney is, right before Route 84 was through there. So when it's racing up there and blowing the whistle, that was over there on the canal line in Plainville. But, yeah, the engine was 3016, the New Haven number of the engine. There were 3 of them that were left at the time. There was one in New Haven, there was one in Boston, there was one in Providence. The New Haven Railroad didn't keep them as locomotives. They used the boilers that had a big pipe that came from the boiler, it came down to the front of the engine. They used them for thawing ice. Use them for either for melting snow at switches, but more often they would use it for thawing out hopper cars of coal that they would use in the power plants. So that's why they still kept them up until that time. And that was the last one of the 3 that was capable of being able to put into service, as bad as it was. And I have copies of your notes, and I can work that out for you. But, yeah, that was a neat old engine. I didn't know about the filming of the movie. I happened to be down New Haven. It was a walkway, a foot walkway, way up in the air between the railroad line out in the middle of the yard. And I was train crazy as a kid. And I'd go out there and stand out there and say, there's a steam engine down there. About half a mile away, I could recognize it was a steam locomotive. It was that engine. It was all painted up 97, Eastern Import on the movies. So I used to go over and play as a kid. 10 years
the
old.
real engine.
Yeah,
Played in the real
Yeah,
engine.
yeah. So I got part of it.
Well, Bruce was kind enough to lend for our exhibit on transportation. He lent us, he still has the plate for old 97. And you can see where they painted over it, where it was 3069?
3016.
3016, they painted over, and if you catch it on the edge, you can see where 97 is underneath, that they painted the 97 off. Then they painted it back to its original number, or the number that should have been afterwards, but you can see it's still.
Just to go out to scrap. They put it to New Haven, they go back to New Haven, and then put a C in front of the number for condemned, and ship all 3 of them out at the same time to scrap. And I asked somebody at the railroad then, I said, are you getting rid of it? So what's going to a museum? Don't worry.
Yeah,
It did not.
it's like when the dog was going to be brought out to the country.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're going to take good care of your cat. We're going to go out and be on the country, yeah. So there was movement at that time. There was a chapter of the National Railway Historical Society up in Warehouse Point, Connecticut. And they were very active, and they were actually moving with the New Haven Railroad to acquire that engine to preserve it. And the typical bureaucracy of things always not happening when they should. They started shipping it to Pennsylvania, it broke down being towed halfway there, they had problems with it. And I ran into somebody who got some parts off that engine while it was being towed, and they cut it up. By the time they finally got word to the scrapyard, save the engine, they'd already started cutting it up.
So it doesn't exist
It does
anymore.
not exist. No.
Now, that was, one of the rumors was that Connecticut Valley Railroad had it.
It had an engine with the same number on it, but considerably smaller engine, not the same number.
Maybe we could ask, we got an interesting call from Lynn Davis, maybe we could ask you. You have a little different perspective, because she wasn't from town, but maybe we could hear from you.
I came actually up from Hartford. I was 16, and I was 2 years into amassing a huge film star collection, which I still have. And the picture in the middle there is Doris Day in one of the 1958 photograph albums. And the 2 flanking pictures are blow-ups of 14 of the pictures that I did take of her that day. Unhappily, Jack Lemmon wasn't around, but I do have her on set, and Nick Martin, Melchner, I guess her husband and manager. And the photograph on the left of Doris Day and Jack Lemmon is a blow-up of the very small newspaper advertisements they used to have of every film that you could see, Los Poli, Palace, the Strand, those beautiful theaters that we had in Hartford. I have the copies of the original and a few other things in a little album there that I'm just giving to the Chester Historical.
I think I was about a year too young to have any recollection of the filming. But I chose to sit here because this is where my mother sat in the meeting house. And if I'm not mistaken, she was the only one in town that had the speaking part. Her name was Olive Cole. And she said, I can drive, but I ain't got a car. No, I just heard stories from
Kurt Bishop is in that movie. Kurt Bishop, you people remember, he was about 8.5 feet tall. Really, really tall. And he didn't speak, he nodded his head. They asked him a question, remember that? And he stood up and he was so big, such a big man. And he nodded, his mother had the speaking role.
because you got paid to
Yeah,
serve.
but Kurt Bishop just nodded his head. So maybe they didn't pay him.
We're sitting right here,
It's
I
tough
think,
to
right
believe
now.
Kurt was still.
I wish I had more memories of it, but I remember.
The great thing if you're old like my girl Marie here. Marie and I are the same age. When you watch that movie, you see these faces like her mother and like Kurt Bishop and like Nels Feldman, and you watch all of these guys, and it's like they're up there moving, right? And it's like, my God, it's 1957 again. And we're 17 again. Especially the tough ones.
We were all in school with the Cub Scouts, so when the Cub Scouts come on, it's just like, oh, there's Jackie Rogers, David Roberts,
Yeah,
very exciting.
I do recognize.
And they're still
most of
kids.
them. Yeah, they're still kids.
I remember when I lived in Deep River, and we lived less than a quarter of a mile from the Connecticut River, and a lot of the scenes were made down there. A lot were made up here, but a lot were made right down there by the gazebo on that river. So my sister and I, she's 4.5 years older, we would walk down in the summertime, and we would watch. We would watch everything and take pictures of Doris and Jack Lemmon, Ernie Kovacs, and Mickey Rooney's son was in it as well. And there was a little girl, I forget what her name is, a little blonde girl. She was
Gina Gillespie.
Huh?
Gina Gillespie?
Gina Gillespie, yeah. And then we came up here, and it was summer, so we were off from school, and we got a part in the crowd scene as well. And I remember I was 10 or 11, I got my Social Security at that time. You didn't get Social Security, your Social Security number until you were 16. Now they tag the babies at the hospital with Social Security numbers, but I got my Social Security numbers that time. And my sister and I went out and bought jeans.